Swayam Prabha. Digital India. Educated India.
So till now we looked at how to generate a function file, how to invoke it, how to load a function file, and so on. So in the previous example, we saw that we had multiple inputs to the function, but there was only one output. Functions in R basically take multiple input objects, but returns only one object as an output. But this is not a limitation. You could have multiple outputs that are sent out from an R function by simply making a list of all the results that you want within the function and send the list out so that multiple outputs can be seen outside. So we take the same example of volume cylinder, but we have called it volume cylinder underscore memo for multiple inputs and multiple outputs. Just like before, the function takes two arguments, diameter and length. Now the first line of the function basically calculates the volume, which is pi times diameter squared times length by 4. Now on top of the volume, let's also try and see if we can calculate the surface area of the cylinder and then send both the volume and the surface area outside the function. So the surface area is basically pi times diameter times length. So using the two input arguments, diameter and length, two outputs have been calculated, which are volume and surface area. Now since I can send only one output, what I do is I make a list called result, which is an identifier. Then it is going to automatically assume that the first argument is for the diameter and the second argument is for the length. Now if you actually wanted to pass the length as the first argument and diameter as the second argument, it is possible if you use the identifier to go with it. So this is what we show here. Volume is volume cylinder, length equal to 10, dia equal to 5, and you get the same result 196.3495. Because though we have sent this in a different order, we have used the identifier with the argument to send it to the function file. So in R, to keep flexibility with programming, functions are generally lazily evaluated, which means that if there are certain arguments that the function is looking for and you do not provide them and those arguments are not used in the function, there are no errors that are returned. So for example, let's say we define volume cylinder as a function of diameter, length, and something called radians, RAD. Now notice inside the function, the volume only uses the diameter and length to return volume. Now you would think that whenever I invoke volume cylinder, I should invoke it with 3 arguments, but in the first case we are invoking it with only 2 arguments, diameter is 5 and length equal to 10. I still get a result for volume which is 196.3495. Though I didn't provide any value for RAD, since that was not used within the function, there was no error that was thrown. However, in the second example, we do the same thing, but if you look at the function form, inside we have volume that we are computing, and then we have a command which says print rad and then return volume. Now when you try to run this function with diameter and length alone, you will get an error saying rad is missing because that is something that is part of a function which R is not able to find out what that is. So as long as these are arguments which do not matter in terms of the computations inside the function, R will still lazily evaluate it and not throw errors while you are evaluating these functions. In summary, you can open a function file by clicking the icon that is there, or going to file and then opening a new file or opening an already existing file. You can save the function. Keep in mind you have to keep the function file name as the same as the function name. So in the previous case, volume cylinder was a function name and the R file was volume cylinder.r. Once you do this, you have to invoke the function every time you want to run by pressing source, and you invoke the function with the right number of inputs to execute the function after loading the function by pressing this button. Now if you close and start a session, clear the console, and then let's say you are in the same folder and then you're trying to run volume cylinder 510, it says I cannot find volume cylinder. This is because every time you have to, once you clear the console, you have to load the function again before that can be invoked. So in this case, though volume cylinder is there, it says it cannot find the function, but once you load the function, you will be able to work with volume cylinder.